Railcats, which was not tenable for us. So part of what the mayor and at the time the Redevelopment Commission asked me to do was to renegotiate that deal with the Railcats. It's not an official renegotiation because they have a contract, but we've been able to come to an agreement that has allowed us to reduce our expenses related to that to about $150,000. But then they also have an investment that's made through our TIF into their capital improvements, which has been an important component to actually being able to get them to reduce the operational cost. We've reached out to them and started negotiations. Their contract officially ends in 2017. We actually, but they have the rights, I should note, they have the rights on their own, given the way the contract was constructed before we came in the office, to actually re-up 5 years without our, without our say. So if they decide that they want to renew their contract on the same terms, they can just send us a letter to that effect. We cannot negotiate that deal unless we're prepared to fight with them in that regard.
So they can do that at least 5 years in a row?
Well, they can do it for two more terms. So one more term, 2 more terms of 5 years. So if they wanted to keep their contract for another 10 years as it is, they would have the right to do so. And that was the way the contract was unfortunately written to begin with, which was just crazy. But the good news is we've developed a much better relationship with the Railcats, and they've done a lot in actually bettering their team and their operations and their relationship with the city. So we're in talks. They have not made a determination one way or the other, but they are predisposed to want to continue to stay here in Gary. They've made a tremendous investment and furthered their investment even on Friday. They're one of the people who wants to, they've taken over their own concessions operations this year. So previously Aramark was their concessions provider. They're now taking it over. It's another way for them to generate some revenue, and they've had some success doing that in some of their other teams that they've owned. And we are expecting to actually partner with them for a couple of products, again, out of the restaurant that's across the street. As you mentioned, we're working with them, and you met with them today about some of the things they'd like to do with the Bennigan's to turn it into another restaurant that would be available into that space. So I think there's some positive move, but in terms of the actual lease itself, we're having conversations. Nothing's been set. They've not said one way or the other, definitively what they want to do, but what they've told us verbally is they're predisposed to stay in Gary. They want to stay here.
I guess so, with a contract like that,
I would agree. It's about as good a contract as you could possibly get for a minor league team.
So just going back to GYY, and you talked about the weekly operations meetings and so forth.
Yes.
From within that meeting, are they, and I clearly understand that the desired, let's say, economic outputs that you look for over time is time intensive. I think that's the point you were making. But is it that group or yet a different group that's looking holistically at the footprint area and saying, okay, there's land there that will require environmental remediation. There's other land that's developable like now. Mm-hmm. Is there an entity looking holistically at the overall site to say, how can we better prepare the entire site in order to have it yield the highest and biggest benefit?
So, yes. So the group that meets on a weekly basis, which I'm a part of, consists of both the people who are operating the airport at the operational level, but also the people who are engaged in the broader development, both within the airport, meaning within the fence itself, but also outside of the airport, the entire kind of lakeshore, lakefront TIF area. So that meeting is a compilation of all of those people. And so when, for example, if we have a partnership with a group like Garmon Construction, they're not on that call with us every week, but they're part of that team. So all of the work that they do is a subset of that broader meeting, because that's the group that has worked on developing the P3 vision, the vision report, the implementation of everything that we do. And so when we meet also, for example, we'll have We'll have smaller teams that'll meet on specifically brownfields or wetlands and things of that nature. It's a compilation of that group plus the people throughout the city who are involved in that subject. So often, Jack and almost always Joe is in those meetings, but there are a variety of other people throughout the city who are also involved. So it's the same team that has the holistic vision that is meeting on a weekly basis to have that conversation to make sure that there is not an operational conflict with the development that's taking place outside of the airport.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
All right, thank you all very much.
informative.
Thanks.
Okay, now was there any other public comments? Okay, item number 14. Pardon me?
Can I make another public comment?
No, you made your one. Okay.
I'd like to address some of the things that Mr.
Item number 14, a report from Mr. Van Dyke.
I have no report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Item number 15, report from the Commissioner's Attorney King.
No report.
Commissioner's comments,
No
Pastor?
comment. No comment. None.
None. School board representative, she left. Do we have any agenda items for the next board meeting?
We do not have any confirmed agenda items at this time.
Okay, the last item, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Roll call?
Thank you, thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Joyner,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Flournoy.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Meeting adjourned.
Mr. White, you've got a copy of that